I had this big blank wall in my living room, so last year I built this fireplace and now it's time to finish it off with some built-ins. Because these are floating floors, I had to cut them out rather than building on top of them to avoid the risk of them buckling later on. Then I started by building a base out of 2x4s for the cabinets to sit on. I made sure to countersink all of my screws so the base will be able to sit flush against the wall. My supervisor was a ton of help that day sweeping up all the sawdust for me. I got the bases on both sides attached into the studs in the wall, and then I added another layer of 1x4s to the top so that the cabinets had a better surface area to sit on. When I built this fireplace, I left these holes on either side so I could access all the cords back there. Now that I'm adding these cabinets, I need to cut a hole in those as well so I can build a door and still get back there. Then I started attaching my cabinets to each other and into the studs in the wall, but of course nothing is ever easy, and the outlet on the left side lined up directly in between the two cabinets, so I had to move that over before installing that side. I'm using oak boards from Weber Lumber for the rest of this build. I ran my 4 boards I'm using for the top of the cabinets through the planer a few times so there will be less sanding for me to do later. I don't own a joiner, so I joined my 2 boards for each side using wood glue, pocket holes, and a lot of clamps. Those need to dry about 24 hours before I want to touch them, so next I moved on to my trim pieces. We all know that walls are not straight, and yes, that includes the ones I built on this fireplace. So I used a scribe on my trim pieces to trace the wall and then cut them on the table saw so they'll match up with the angle of the walls, and then I attached them with my nail gun. These top pieces I joined still needed to be sanded, but I had to see what it looked like all done. Follow along for part 2 to see me build all the shelves for the top.